Hello everyone. We are here telling stories of TMS injuries, and today I'm with Kyle, and he's here to share his story. Both of us were deeply injured by TMS, and Kyle, thank you so much for sharing your story. And if you're open, will you just share kind of what happened?
Yeah, hey everyone, and thank you, Patricia, for doing this. I think it's great. So I'm 41 years old. I've been dealing with mental health stuff since I was probably a young kid, and taking different medications, things like that. I I did TMS in the summer of 2018. And what led up to it was I had gone back to school. I had gotten my graduate degree in counseling, actually. And I was working at a place and I was doing okay. I felt decent. And as I kept working at this place, the depression came back. And when I look back on it, I think it was more just being stressed out with the environment. It was a stressful job helping guys in rehabilitation. So I had a job, I had insurance, and I thought, maybe I had heard of TMS, and I looked it up online, and everything I heard was, it's non-invasive, it's safe, it's not electroconvulsive therapy, blah blah blah. And so I called around local doctors, and there was one who was offering it, and I went to see him. And of course, I told him I was depressed, I was anxious, and he looked at me, he said, yeah, you definitely qualify for this. It was like a 30-minute appointment. And so I remember um, signing up for it. And I just, what I would give not to sign up for it. But, there's nothing I can do now. But I, I started going through it. And, you go through the first session and it's the mapping area. And I just thought, okay, this is fine. It's kind of weird, to see my finger twitch and all that stuff. And started going to a few sessions. And probably after the third session, I started to feel a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension. I remember after like an hour, I would leave the TMS and my whole body would like tense up.
Mhm.
My muscles in my face would tense up. I would get very active. And that would come up and then it would kind of go back down. And I couldn't sleep that well. Um, I remember telling the doctor, and he just said, "Well, take 10 milligrams of melatonin." Okay. So I just continued because I kept reading online. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. Don't give up before the miracle happens. And I remember going with my father on vacation, and it was after like the 13th session. And that's when I experienced the dip. I had these days where I'd feel a little hypomanic, and then I'd dip down into these real bad, almost suicidal type of thoughts,
Yeah.
and I'd come back up. And I remember after that vacation, I went from feeling okay to feeling pretty bad mentally. And so my whole thing was I kept going. I did 30 35 sessions,
Mm.
and it was the hope that this dip would relieve, and it never did. It put me into a depressed state. And the crazy thing is, about 2 months after TMS, I would fluctuate every day for about a year between these highs and lows. And it was crazy. I just remember crying. I remember not being able to function. I had to stop my job. Um, it was absolutely terrible.
So, do you mind sharing what machine you were treated with?
Yeah, it was the what is it? The NeuroStar,
Yeah,
one of the original machines. So yeah, I forget which ones that's called,
yeah.
but
But
it was
NeuroStar.
yeah, it was 20 seconds of pulsing on the left, I think,
Mm,
10, 15, 20 seconds, and then it was a slow pulse, 10 on the right, because apparently, that would help with the anxiety, which I look back on, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That really doesn't. Um,
when you reported your negative symptoms to the doctor or the provider that was offering this, did they offer you any support?
no,
Yeah.
no support. Uh, I got a check back for a little bit of money at the end. I don't know where that came from. I think it's because my insurance didn't pay for it, but there was no support afterwards.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had the same thing. The providers that, what's so unfortunate about my experience is that I was living my best life and they said, oh, this is just going to up level. This is going to make everything better. Your sleep, your focus, all of this. And they pushed me to do 35 treatments. I was reporting the negative side effects all along the way. Oh, no, you just have to do more and it'll be better. And then when I was completely bedridden, they told people that I had a psychotic break and, which is also a HIPAA violation as well to actually talk about a client. And it also just spoke to how little they knew about this treatment and what they were doing. And, for me, I had clear contraindications and I'm still fighting to get my focus, mental clarity, sleep, energy levels, etc. back. And I've done a lot of treatments, retraining my brain with cognitive processing with neurologists and also brain specialists. What have you done to support your recovery?
Well, I did go to the Amen clinics because I was like, there's something wrong with my brain.
Yeah.
So I just felt something was off. So I went there and they did a spec scan. Um, the doctor who read the results, he said, no, TMS didn't damage your brain, blah, blah, blah. Um, I've actually got the spec scan if you want to see it, but uh, he was also a practicing ECT physician, so I didn't get
Um,
much there.
yeah.
I had an MRI done.
Hmm.
That apparently didn't have anything showing. Um, the biggest thing I did was, believe it or not, about 80 sessions of hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Mm,
And that seemed to help a little bit for a couple weeks afterwards, but it kind of quelled the anxiety and the feeling that my brain was inflamed. It
yeah.
kind of quelled that for a couple weeks, but because of the price and everything, I couldn't continue doing that. Um, I remember the biggest thing that I'd like to do that I haven't done is, reducing sugar and things like that.
Hmm.
But it's hard to do that when you're in a kind of a depressed state. It's hard to get that motivation to do that. And I've spent quite a bit of, money and time on things that I thought would help. I went to a functional neurologist, no, a functional chiropractor who tried some red light therapy on me, and also prescribed many supplements. Yeah, I've tried to do quite a few things. Um,
Yeah,
Still holding on to hope about eating better, but yeah.
it's interesting. I went to hyperbaric right after, and I could hear popping in my brain, and I was so terrified to continue
Mhm.
because if the brain is inflamed, and this is just my, I don't have a lot of expertise around what hyperbaric can do after a brain injury like this, but I could hear popping. And so I stopped doing, and the pressure in my head was so severe that I thought I have to stop. Uh,
Right.
and, I think one of the things to your point is that so many people who are injured, we've heard a lot in the victims of TMS group on Facebook, like water fasting, keto diet, and things like that. And when you are so in crisis, to put such a restrictive program in place is really challenging. I also went to a lot of functional neurologists. I was working with a top neurologist as well. For me, it damaged my hearing and my eyesight. And so I had to retrain my eyes to track together. And it was really terrifying, to go
Mm.
through that process. Do you feel like you are healing?
Some days and some days not.
Yeah.
Uh, today's Wednesday. When I'm in big groups of crowds and a lot of people are speaking,
Hmm.
it I can I can feel the left side of my brain, left side of my scalp, kind of almost, like I said, inflamed. I'll get it kind of throbbing. And then my ear will also, I'll have like a humming noise, tinnitus a little bit.
Mm.
And I just have put my fingers on it in the last year or so. But as far as the mood fluctuations, yeah, those are better. But it's also sucks being in this depressed state that, um, depression sucks. It's like the life out of me has really gone down. Yes, time has healed some, but I can't say that I would say maybe 60% better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
I
the same. It's, I mean, for me, it's kind of like I don't have the highs anymore. I don't have the lows. I don't really feel a lot. Um,
mhm.
it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like old school having a lobotomy. And what's so tragic about my story is that I didn't need it, and I had
Mhm.
clear contraindications. And so, what would be your hope that would happen in all of this? I'm trying to help tell the stories of those that have been injured so we can get some awareness and also hopefully inspire some researchers and those that work with the brain to find solutions, because one of the most frustrating things is no one really knows much about these injuries. They tout how amazing TMS is, but no one's talking about, okay, what happens when the thousands of people have been injured? How do we reverse these electrical injuries, essentially?
Right.
What's your hope in telling your story, or that what could change in the industry?
I think there definitely needs to be more guidelines about it. I mean, it's crazy that like you said, like you were told that this was going to be just make your life better and how easy it is just to prescribe it. And I would definitely hope that they would come to a consensus that no, okay, maybe it helps some people, but there's also people that it totally destroys, and it's not right. I mean, I would love that they would have some kind of medication or something to help with the brain, but it's so intricate, and I believe it's kind of a mix of like a micro trauma with inflammation, and there's just as I've gone into this journey, I've kind of done some thinking about what it could be, but definitely some kind of inflammatory process going on. Yeah, there's not enough money in the world, I don't think, that
Mm.
could help. You could. it's not going to give me back what I had lost, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer, but this is true. I mean,
Yeah.
this really does, it's impacted my career, what I want to do. So, financially, that would be nice to have some kind of backing for what has happened, but to have my brain back would be nice.
Yeah. I
Fully
mean, that
function.
was the same thing with me of, it doesn't matter. I was overnight out of work, and didn't plan on taking a leave, and I'm self-employed. And so, I didn't have any, um, insurance to fall back on or unemployment or anything like that, right? And overnight, you're completely out of work. And the thing that's so tragic, it's like the providers that I went to knowingly harmed several people and then turned around and told lies to the community. And it's like, I have yet to meet one person in the thousands of people that have been injured by TMS. I've yet to meet one person that's injured where their provider took accountability and responsibility for the injury. And I think that's a big component of this. They're like, oh, not me. I don't know. Must be something else. And yet
Sure.
thousands of people are injured.
Mhm.
Did you write a review or anything like that for the clinic that harmed you?
Well, the doctor lost his license, 3 years later for some for overprescribing medication. But I wrote a Google review against it. And I said this doctor in this place did a horrible job, and I don't recommend TMS to anybody. I also went on the FDA site and reported the harms done. I don't know how many reports there are now, but when I did it, this was a few years ago. And yeah, I did a couple places as I think, you know, I was talking to James Hall at the time, and he had recommended doing that, and I thought it was good. But um, yeah, I wish I would have done more, but it seemed like you said, there had been 200 people before me or something that had done it, and they didn't have effects. But when I say that I did, it's like, no, something else must be going on. It's not the TMS, but I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've now met thousands of people that are injured by TMS, and
Hmm.
they continue to say, oh, it's not TMS, yet all of our symptoms and negative side effects are the same after TMS. So there's something that's happening, whether it be inexperienced providers, practitioners getting, I just don't think that TMS is a one size fits all, like they're selling it. And they also absolutely, you cannot say ethically that TMS has no side effects. And yet everyone touts that TMS has no known side effects. And
Right.
yet here's thousands of people that have reported side effects. So how do we move the needle in this and actually get the attention and the response from the providers that we need to? Well, I am destined to support as many people as I can. I am looking for answers wherever I can and really trying to put together a comprehensive approach to healing these injuries. Unfortunately, like so many of us, I've yet to find the answers and how to reverse this. And some of those that do have answers, it's so incredibly costly to go through a program without guarantees, right? So, all I can do is continue, all that any of us can do is to continue to share our stories and share the truth of what's happened and hope that we can prevent these injuries with further patients that are being lied to. And then also hopefully get the attention of some, doctors or functional neuro docs that can help in repairing these injuries as well. Yeah.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
Go
There's
ahead.
no, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I joined the Victims of TMS Facebook group, there was, um, I mean, I've seen it grow from 200 to 5 point, 5,200 people now.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense that, TMS didn't do anything. I mean, the more the people speak up and the more I think putting up videos and stories, um, the more people are going to identify and hopefully, like you said, get the call to action on helping, doing the best, or at least putting up some guidelines about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you would want anyone to know that's listening?
You know, um, I just, like I said, there's nothing I can do. I can't go back in the future, but I wish I would have had the knowledge about, that the depression. I would have done a lot of other things differently than going through TMS. It seems like a quick fix, um, but I would I would definitely use caution with going into it. It sounds, it's like selling a, used car. Might sound great, but it's not. Yeah, use caution. Definitely use caution.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. But it's been a
Well,
tough road. It's been a long journey, and my goal is to just be a functioning member of society and help others out. And sometimes I think it's unfair, but it is what it is. I put myself through that situation. I can only hope that in time things get a little bit better.
yeah. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for telling your story. And I really do hold hope that the more that we speak out, the more attention we can get to find answers. And, obviously, being someone who is also injured with TMS, I sympathize. I'm still on the journey myself. I have good days and bad days and everything in between, and still working with my neurologists and team trying to get some of these motor skills back.
Okay.
And the damage from my autonomic nervous system that really caused a lot of um, it's been living every day in Groundhog Day of kind of the worst day of your life, and you don't really get a break. And it's something that has put a fire in me to speak out like I never have before, and to really empower others to speak out and share their stories so we can find answers to healing, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I'm really glad you're doing this. Because like I said, the more people that do speak out, um, the more it's not gonna hurt. So we definitely need that support. I'm really thankful for the group. But yeah, I'd love to see something materialize.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.